You are dying inside, and you don't even know it. Every single day, you wake up with this heavy weight on your chest, this nameless anxiety that follows you like a shadow. And you tell yourself it's normal, that this is just how life is after 45, after 50, after the dreams have been postponed so many times, they've turned into regrets. But let me tell you something that might shock you, something that might make you uncomfortable. That fear you feel, that constant worry about money, about being alone, about not being enough, about your ex finding happiness with someone else, while you sit there wondering what went wrong. That fear was never actually yours. You just accepted it. You swallowed it whole, like a bitter pill someone handed you when you were too young to question it. And now it's become your identity. You've become fear itself. Look at yourself right now, wherever you are, listening to these words. Are you truly alive, or are you just managing anxiety? Are you living, or are you simply avoiding death? There's a massive difference, my friend. And most people in your age group, this beautiful stage between 45 and 60, they're not living at all. They're in survival mode, terrified mode, running from one fear to another like rats in a maze that has no exit. And the saddest part, the maze isn't even real. You built it yourself, brick by brick, with borrowed beliefs and second-hand fears. I want you to imagine something with me right now. Imagine you're sitting in your living room, it's evening, the light is fading, and you're scrolling through your phone. Maybe you're looking at social media. Maybe you're checking your bank account for the third time today. Maybe you're looking at photos of your ex with someone new, someone younger, someone who seems to laugh more easily than you ever did. And there it is again, that familiar sensation in your stomach, that tightness in your throat. Fear. But where did it come from? Did you wake up one day and decide, today I will be afraid? Of course not. Fear came to you disguised as protection, as wisdom, as common sense. Your parents gave it to you. Your teachers reinforced it. Society wrapped it up nicely and called it responsibility, maturity, being realistic. Let me be very direct with you, because I don't believe in wasting time. And at your age, time is the one commodity you cannot afford to waste anymore. If you continue living with this fear as your foundation, if you keep making decisions based on anxiety rather than awareness, you will reach the end of your life and realize you never actually lived. You survived, you managed, you coped, but you never danced. You never exploded with joy. You never took the risks that make life worth living. And here's the really terrifying part, the part that should make you sit up and pay attention right now. While you're sitting there, paralyzed by fear, life is moving on without you. Your ex-husband, if you have one, he's not sitting around feeling guilty or missing you. He's out there, maybe with someone who isn't carrying your particular brand of fear, someone who laughs freely, who doesn't need constant reassurance, who hasn't made fear her permanent companion. And that opportunity you had to reinvent yourself, to start that business, to move to that place you always dreamed about, to become the person you were meant to be before fear moved in and redecorated your entire inner landscape. That opportunity has an expiration date. Now, I can feel some of you getting defensive. Good. Defensiveness means I've touched something real. You're thinking, but Osho, you don't understand my situation. I have real reasons to be afraid. I have bills to pay. I have responsibilities. I'm not 20 anymore. I can't just throw caution to the wind. And you're absolutely right. You're not 20 anymore. But let me ask you this. When you were 20, were you happy? Were you fearless? Or were you already carrying the seeds of the same fears you have now, just in different packaging? The fear of not being enough, the fear of being rejected, the fear of financial insecurity, the fear of ending up alone. These fears don't belong to any particular age. They're timeless parasites, and they've been feeding on you for decades. Here's what most people don't understand about fear. Fear is not an emotion. Fear is a habit. It's a pattern of thinking you've practiced so many times, it's become automatic, like breathing, like blinking. You don't even notice you're doing it anymore. Someone says something slightly critical, and immediately your fear habit activates. You see a bill in the mail, fear habit. You think about dating again, fear habit. You consider changing careers, fear habit. You imagine speaking your truth to someone, fear habit. It's like you've installed fear as your operating system. And now, every program you run, every decision you make, every relationship you enter, it's all filtered through this lens of anxiety and self-protection. And the really insidious thing about this fear habit is that it pretends to be your friend. It whispers to you, I'm keeping you safe. I'm being realistic. I'm preventing you from making mistakes. But let me tell you what fear is really doing. Fear is keeping you small. Fear is keeping you stuck. Fear is preventing you from becoming the magnificent, powerful, radiant being you were born to be. And at 45, 50, 55, 60, you don't have time for this anymore. You don't have decades to waste playing it safe. You have maybe 20, 30 good years left, if you're lucky. And do you really want to spend them the same way you spent the last 20? Afraid, hesitant, second-guessing yourself, watching other people live while you manage your anxiety. Let me tell you a story. When I was young, much younger than you are now, I used to be afraid of death, not in an abstract way, but in a very real, visceral way. I would lie awake at night, thinking about the fact that one day I would cease to exist, and this fear would grip me so completely I could barely breathe. And one day, I realized something profound. I realized that my fear of death was actually preventing me from living. Every moment I spent afraid of dying was a moment I wasn't actually alive. So I decided to do an experiment. I decided to die before I died. I sat in meditation and I allowed myself to fully experience the fear, to go into it completely, to stop running from it. And you know what I discovered? On the other side of fear is nothing. Absolutely nothing. Fear is a ghost. It has no substance. It exists only because we believe in it, because we feed it with our attention, because we give it reality through our acceptance. Now, I'm not suggesting you need to meditate on death, although it wouldn't hurt. What I'm suggesting is much more practical and immediate. I'm suggesting that you start to question every single fear you have. When fear arises, instead of automatically believing it and obeying it, ask yourself, Is this fear actually mine, or did someone give it to me? Is this fear based on reality, or is it based on imagination? Is this fear protecting me, or is it imprisoning me? And here's the key question, the one that changes everything. Who would I be without this fear? Think about that for a moment. Who would you be without the fear of financial insecurity? Who would you be without the fear of rejection? Who would you be without the fear of being alone? Who would you be without the fear of failure? Who would you be without the fear of what other people think? Can you even imagine it? Most people can't. They've been afraid for so long. They don't know who they are underneath the fear. The fear has become their identity. They introduce themselves to the world as a fearful person, and then they wonder why life keeps giving them things to be afraid of. But here's what you need to understand, and this is crucial. Life doesn't give you what you want. Life gives you what you are. If you are fear, life will give you situations that confirm your fear. If you are lack, life will give you experiences of scarcity. If you are unworthiness, life will bring you people who treat you as unworthy. This isn't punishment. This isn't karma in some mystical sense. This is simple psychology, simple neuroscience. Your brain is wired to find evidence for what you already believe. It's called confirmation bias, and it runs your entire life unless you become conscious of it. So right now, in this moment, your brain is scanning your environment for threats, for problems, for reasons to be afraid, because that's what you've trained it to do. You've spent years, decades, training your brain to be a fear detection machine, and it's very good at its job. It finds fear everywhere. In your bank account, in your mirror, in your phone, in your memories, in your future projections. And every time it finds fear, it sends a signal to your body, and your body responds with stress hormones, with tension, with that familiar feeling of anxiety. And then you think, see, I was right to be afraid. Look how I feel. This must be real. But it's not real. It's a loop. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's a nightmare you're having while you're awake. Now, some of you are thinking, okay, Osho, I get it. Fear is a problem. But what do I do about it? How do I stop being afraid? And this is where most spiritual teachers will give you some nonsense about positive thinking or affirmations or visualizing your dreams. And look, those things can be useful. They're like aspirin for a headache. They might make you feel a little better temporarily, but they don't address the root cause. They don't actually eliminate fear. They just cover it up with a thin layer of optimism that cracks the moment something challenging happens. The real solution, the only solution that actually works, is awareness, not positive thinking, not denying your fear, not pretending everything is fine when it's not, but pure, clear, unflinching awareness. You need to become aware of your fear without judging it, without trying to change it, without making it wrong. You need to look at your fear the way a scientist looks at something under a microscope, with curiosity, with interest, without any agenda except to understand. Let me give you a practical example, because I know some of you are getting impatient. You want the steps, you want the formula, you want the technique. Okay, here it is. The next time you feel fear, and it will be soon, probably in the next few hours, I want you to stop whatever you're doing. Stop. Don't react. Don't make a decision. Don't pick up your phone. Don't call a friend. Don't eat something. Don't distract yourself. Just stop. And then place your attention on the physical sensation of fear in your body. Where is it? Is it in your chest, your stomach, your throat, your shoulders? Just notice it. Don't try to make it go away. Don't take deep breaths to calm yourself. Just notice the sensation. And then ask yourself, what is this fear telling me? Not what is it telling me about reality, but what is it telling me about my beliefs, about my conditioning, about the fears I accepted from others. For example, let's say you are afraid of running out of money. You check your bank account and there's less there than you'd like, and immediately fear grips you. Stop. Feel the sensation. Ask yourself, what belief is creating this fear? And you might discover something like, I believe that my worth is determined by how much money I have. Or, I believe that if I don't have enough money, I'll be rejected and alone. Or, I believe that the world is a dangerous place and I need a certain amount of money to be safe. Now, are any of these beliefs actually true? Or are they just stories you've been telling yourself, stories someone else told you first? This is where it gets interesting. When you start to examine your beliefs with awareness, they begin to lose their power. It's like turning on the light in a room where you thought there was a monster, and you discover it's just a coat hanging on a door. The fear was real, the sensation was real, but the cause of the fear was just a misperception, a belief, a story. And stories can be changed, beliefs can be questioned, conditioning can be undone. But first, you have to see it, you have to become aware of it. And this requires courage. It requires a willingness to look at yourself honestly without the usual defenses and justifications and excuses. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. You're thinking, but Osho, I've tried to examine my beliefs before. I've done therapy. I've read self-help books. I've watched videos. Nothing has really changed. I still feel the same fears. And I believe you. Because examining your beliefs intellectually is not the same as becoming aware of them experientially. You can understand something in your head and still be completely controlled by it in your life. Awareness is not intellectual understanding. Awareness is a state of presence, a state of being here now, fully, completely, without the filter of your thoughts and beliefs and conditioning. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you were truly present? Not thinking about the past, not worrying about the future, not judging yourself, not planning, not analyzing, just here, now, alive, aware. For most people, the answer is never, or maybe once or twice in their entire life, during some peak experience, some moment of crisis or beauty or love that shocked them out of their habitual thinking. And that's tragic, because presence, awareness, this moment right now, this is all you have, this is all you've ever had. Everything else is memory or imagination. And yet you spend almost all your time living in memory and imagination, in the past and the future. And then you wonder why you feel so anxious, so disconnected, so empty. Here's a truth that might upset you. Your fear of your ex-husband finding happiness with someone else, that's not about him. It's about you. It's about your belief that you're not enough, that you're not lovable, that you missed your chance. And as long as you believe that, as long as you carry that fear, you will create exactly what you're afraid of. Not because the universe is punishing you, but because your fear will make you desperate, needy, bitter, closed off. And desperate, needy, bitter, closed off people don't attract love, they repel it. So your fear becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. You're afraid of being alone, so you act in ways that guarantee you'll be alone. You're afraid of not being enough, so you present yourself as someone who needs constant validation, and that neediness pushes people away. Do you see the trap? Do you see how fear creates the very thing it fears? And this applies to everything, not just relationships. You're afraid of financial insecurity, so you make decisions from fear. You take jobs you hate because they're safe. You don't invest in yourself or your dreams because it seems risky. And then you wonder why you're stuck financially. You're afraid of failure, so you don't try new things. You don't take risks. You play it safe. And then you feel like a failure anyway because you're not living, you're just existing. Fear is a prison, and you are both the prisoner and the jailer. You're locking yourself in, and you're the only one who has the key. So let me be very clear about what's at stake here, because I want you to feel the urgency of this. If you don't address this fear, if you don't become aware of it and start to dismantle it, you will waste the rest of your life. You will reach 70, 80 if you're lucky, and you will look back with profound regret. Not regret for the things you did, but regret for the things you didn't do because you were afraid. The trip you didn't take, the business you didn't start, the person you didn't approach, the truth you didn't speak, the life you didn't live. And at that point, it will be too late. You can't go back. You can't get a refund on your years. Time doesn't care about your fear. It just keeps moving, and it's moving right now, this very second. And you're either using it or losing it. And while you're sitting there, paralyzed by fear, other people are living. Your ex is living. That person who started their business at 55 is living. That person who traveled the world after their divorce is living. That person who found love again at 60 is living. They're not smarter than you. They're not luckier than you. They're not more talented than you. They just decided at some point that fear was not going to run their life anymore. They decided that the risk of living was worth more than the safety of hiding. And you can make that same decision right now, in this moment, not tomorrow, not after you figure everything out, not after you feel more confident, now. But here's the problem. Your mind will immediately start giving you reasons why you can't make that decision now. It will say, but I need to plan, I need to prepare, I need to know how it's going to work out, I need some guarantee. And this is just fear talking. Fear always wants guarantees. Fear always wants to know the outcome before taking the first step. But life doesn't work that way. Life is uncertain. Life is unpredictable. Life is risky. And the only way to live it fully is to embrace that uncertainty, to dance with that unpredictability, to take risks not recklessly but consciously, with awareness. Now, let me give you something practical, something you can use immediately. I'm going to give you a formula, a step-by-step process for dismantling fear. But I want you to understand something first. This formula will only work if you actually use it. Most people collect information. They watch videos, they read books, they take courses, and then they do nothing. They think that knowing is enough. It's not. Knowing is just the beginning. Transformation happens through action, through practice, through actually doing something different than what you've been doing. So here's the formula. Step 1. Identify the fear. Be specific. Don't just say, I'm afraid. Say exactly what you're afraid of. I'm afraid of running out of money. I'm afraid of dying alone. I'm afraid of being rejected. I'm afraid of failure. I'm afraid of success. I'm afraid of what people will think. Be specific. Write it down if you need to. Clarity is power. Step 2. Trace the fear to its source. Ask yourself, when did I first feel this fear? Where did I learn it? Who gave it to me? And be honest. Maybe your mother was always worried about money and you absorbed that worry. Maybe your father was critical and you learned to fear judgment. Maybe you were rejected in a past relationship and you decided it meant something about your worth. Trace it back. Find the original wound, the original belief, the original moment when you accepted this fear as truth. Step 3. Question the belief. This is crucial. Take the belief that's creating the fear and ask yourself, is this absolutely true? Can I know with 100% certainty that this belief is true? And the answer will always be no. You can't know with certainty that you'll run out of money. You can't know with certainty that you'll die alone. You can't know with certainty that you'll be rejected. These are just stories, projections, fears, not facts. And once you realize they are not facts, they lose their power. Step 4. Feel the fear in your body without the story. This is where most people get stuck. They can identify the fear, they can trace it, they can question it intellectually, but they don't actually feel it. And unfelt fear stays stuck in your body, creating tension, creating stress, creating illness. So take a moment, close your eyes if you need to, and feel the sensation of fear in your body without attaching any story to it. Just pure sensation, tightness, heaviness, contraction, heat, cold, whatever it is. Just feel it. Don't try to change it. Don't try to make it go away. Just be with it. And something miraculous happens when you do this. The fear starts to dissolve. Not because you're fighting it, but because you're giving it space. You're accepting it. You're not resisting it anymore. Step 5. Take one small action in the direction of what you fear. This is the most important step. You can't think your way out of fear. You have to act your way out. If you're afraid of financial insecurity, take one small action toward creating more income. If you're afraid of being alone, take one small action toward connecting with people. If you're afraid of rejection, take one small action toward putting yourself out there. It doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be something, because action creates momentum and momentum creates confidence, and confidence dissolves fear. Now, I want to pause here and ask you a question. Are you actually going to do this? Or are you just going to listen to these words, nod your head, think that's interesting, and then go back to your life exactly as it was? Because I can give you the best formula in the world, the most profound wisdom, the the most practical steps, but if you don't use them, they're worthless. They're just more information cluttering your mind. And you don't need more information. You need transformation. And transformation only happens through action. So right now, I want you to make a commitment. Not to me. I don't care if you change or not. I'm not here to save you. I'm here to wake you up. But you have to decide if you want to be awake. You have to decide if you're tired enough of being afraid, if you're frustrated enough with playing small, if you're ready enough to actually live before you die. And if the answer is yes, then commit right now to doing the 5-step formula I just gave you. Not tomorrow, not next week, today, in the next hour. Identify a fear, trace it, question it, feel it, act despite it. Do it now. And I can hear some of you saying, but Osho, what if I do all this and I still feel afraid? Well, of course you will still feel afraid. Fear doesn't disappear completely. What changes is your relationship to it. Instead of being controlled by fear, you become aware of it. Instead of believing fear, you observe it. Instead of running from fear, you move through it. Fear becomes like weather, it comes and goes, but you're not the weather, you're the sky. The sky doesn't care if there's a storm. The sky remains vast and open and unchanged. That's what you can become. Not fearless, but fear-free. Not without fear, but not identified with it, not controlled by it. Let me tell you something about the people who seem to have it all together, the people who are successful, who have great relationships, who seem confident and happy. They're not fearless. They feel fear just like you do. The difference is they don't let fear make their decisions. They feel the fear and they do it anyway. They've learned that fear is just a sensation, just a thought, just a habit, and habits can be changed. And if they can do it, so can you. You're not special in your fear. Everyone feels it. But you can be special in your courage. You can be special in your willingness to live despite the fear. Now, let's talk about something that's probably very real for many of you listening. Let's talk about the fear of starting over, especially in relationships. You're 45, 50, 55, maybe you've been divorced, maybe your partner died, maybe you've been single for years, and the thought of dating again fills you with absolute dread. You look in the mirror and you see the wrinkles, the gray hair, the body that's not what it used to be, and you think, who would want me now? I'm too old. I've missed my chance. All the good ones are taken. And this fear is so painful, so convincing, that you just give up. You decide you're done with relationships. You tell yourself you're fine alone, you're independent, you don't need anyone. But deep down, you're lonely. Deep down, you're aching for connection, for intimacy, for someone to see you, really see you, and love what they see. And here's what I want you to understand. This fear of not being desirable, of not being enough, this is one of the deepest, most painful fears humans have. And it's also one of the most ridiculous, because desirability, attractiveness, lovability, these have nothing to do with your age or your appearance. Nothing. They have everything to do with your energy, your presence, your aliveness. A person who is truly alive, who is present, who is comfortable in their own skin, who has dealt with their fear and stepped into their power, that person is magnetic at any age. That person radiates something that goes beyond physical appearance. It's a quality of being, it's authenticity, it's self-acceptance, it's freedom. But when you're living in fear, when you're constantly worried about what others think, when you're trying to be someone you're not, when you're hiding parts of yourself, you kill that magnetism. You become small, contracted, defensive, and that's what's unattractive. Not your age, not your wrinkles, not your imperfect body, your fear, your self-rejection, your lack of presence. So if you want to be attractive, if you want to find love again, stop trying to look younger, stop trying to be perfect, and start becoming more yourself. Start accepting yourself exactly as you are. Start living from your center instead of from your fear. And watch what happens. You'll be amazed at how people respond to you. But this requires something radical. It requires you to stop seeking validation from others. It requires you to stop making your worth dependent on whether someone chooses you or not. It requires you to become so full in yourself, so complete in yourself, that a relationship is not something you need, but something you choose. Something you want to share your fullness with, not something you need to fill your emptiness with. And this is the great paradox. When you don't need a relationship, when you're truly okay alone, that's when you become most attractive. That's when love finds you. Because you're no longer desperate, you're no longer needy, you're no longer trying to get something from someone. You're offering something. You're offering your presence, your joy, your aliveness. And that's what people want, not your neediness, your fullness. Now, some of you are thinking, but how do I become full? I don't feel full. I feel empty. I feel lonely. I feel like something is missing. And yes, that's the feeling. But let me tell you a secret. That feeling of emptiness, that feeling that something is missing, that's not because you're alone. That's not because you don't have a partner. That feeling is there because you're not present. You're not here. You're in your head, in your thoughts, in your fears, in your past, in your future. And when you're not here, you feel empty because presence is fullness. This moment, right now, is complete. Nothing is missing. But you miss it because you're somewhere else thinking about what was or what might be. So the practice is simple but not easy. Come back to now, again and again and again. Every time you notice you're in your head, worrying, planning, remembering, fantasizing, come back to now. Feel your body, feel your breath, feel the aliveness in you. And in that presence, in that knownness, you will discover that nothing is missing. You are complete. You are whole. You are enough. Not because you've achieved something or acquired something or become someone special, but because in this moment, in presence, there is no lack. Lack only exists in time, in the past where you think you lost something, or in the future where you think you need something. But here, now, there is only isness, only being, only fullness. And when you discover this, when you really get this, not intellectually but experientially, your whole life changes. You stop chasing, you stop seeking, you stop trying to become someone other than who you are. You relax into yourself, you accept yourself, you love yourself. And from that foundation of self-love, of self-acceptance, everything else flows. Relationships come, money comes, opportunities come. Not because you're trying to make them happen, but because you're no longer blocking them with your fear, with your neediness, with your sense of lack. Let me talk about money for a moment, because I know this is a huge source of fear for many of you. You're at an age where retirement is not some distant concept anymore. It's real, it's approaching. And you look at your savings or lack of savings and you panic. You think, how am I going to survive? What if I run out of money? What if I get sick and can't work? What if I end up homeless? And these fears are real. I'm not dismissing them, but let me ask you something. Has worrying about money ever made you more money? Has fear of poverty ever made you wealthy? Of course not. Fear of poverty creates poverty, not in some magical, mystical way, but in very practical ways. When you're afraid of not having enough money, you make decisions from scarcity. You don't invest in yourself. You don't take calculated risks. You settle for less than you're worth. You stay in jobs you hate because they're secure. You don't start that business. You don't ask for that raise. You don't believe you deserve more. And so you don't get more. Abundance is not about how much money you have in your bank account. Abundance is a state of consciousness. It's a way of seeing the world. It's a belief that there is enough, that you are enough, that life supports you. And when you live from that belief, when you make decisions from abundance instead of scarcity, everything changes. You start to see opportunities instead of obstacles. You start to take action instead of hiding. You start to invest in yourself, in your growth, in your dreams. And money starts to flow more easily, not because you're chasing it, but because you're creating value, you're serving people, you're expressing your gifts. And money is simply the byproduct of that. But again, this requires you to face your fear. You have to look at your beliefs about money. Where did they come from? What did your parents teach you about money? What did society teach you? What experiences shaped your relationship with money? And then you have to question those beliefs. Are they true? Are they serving you? Or are they keeping you stuck in scarcity and fear? Let me give you a practical exercise. For the next 7 days, I want you to notice every time you have a thought about money, every time you worry about money, every time you check your bank account out of anxiety, every time you compare yourself to others financially, every time you feel lack, just notice it. Don't judge it. Don't try to change it. Just become aware of it. And at the end of each day, write down what you noticed. You'll be shocked at how often you think about money from a place of fear. And that awareness is the first step to changing it. Then, after 7 days of just noticing, I want you to start questioning. When you have a fearful thought about money, ask yourself, is this true? Do I know with absolute certainty that this will happen? What evidence do I have that contradicts this fear? And then, most importantly, ask yourself, what would I do differently if I wasn't afraid? And then do that. Take one action from abundance instead of scarcity. Maybe it's investing in a course that will help you grow your skills. Maybe it's starting that side business you've been thinking about. Maybe it's asking for a raise. Maybe it's simply giving some money away, proving to yourself that you have enough to share. Whatever it is, do it. Because action from abundance creates more abundance. It's a law, not a mystical law, a psychological law. What you focus on expands, what you practice becomes stronger. Now, I want to address something that might be uncomfortable for some of you. Let's talk about the fear of being forgotten, of being irrelevant, of not mattering. This is a big one for people in your age group. You see younger people taking over, doing things faster, better, with more energy, and you start to feel like you're being left behind, like your time has passed, like you don't matter anymore. And if you've gone through a divorce or a breakup, this fear is even more intense. You imagine your ex with someone new, someone who makes them happier than you ever could, and you feel erased, forgotten, replaced. And I'm going to tell you something harsh but true. You probably are forgotten by your ex, not because you weren't important, not because you weren't loved, but because they've moved on. They're living their life, and you should be too. But instead, you're stuck in the past, replaying old conversations, old hurts, old memories, torturing yourself with images of them being happy without you. And this is not love. This is not caring. This is ego. This is your ego feeling wounded because someone doesn't need you anymore, doesn't think about you anymore, doesn't validate your existence anymore. But here's the truth. You don't need their validation. You don't need anyone's validation. You are not defined by who remembers you or who forgets you. You are defined by your own presence, your own awareness, your own aliveness. And the moment you stop seeking validation from others, the moment you stop making your worth dependent on what others think or feel about you, you become free. You become powerful. You become whole. So if you're still obsessing over your ex, if you're still checking their social media, if you're still hoping they'll come back or at least miss you, stop. Just stop. You're wasting your precious life energy on someone who has moved on, and you need to move on too. Not by finding someone new to fill the void, but by filling yourself, by becoming so full, so alive, so present that you don't need anyone else to complete you. And this brings me to something crucial: the fear of being alone. This is perhaps the deepest fear humans have. We're social creatures. We're wired for connection. And the thought of ending up alone, especially as we get older, is terrifying. But let me tell you something. Loneliness and aloneness are not the same thing. Loneliness is a feeling of lack, a feeling that something is missing, a feeling of disconnection. And you can feel lonely in a crowd. You can feel lonely in a relationship. You can feel lonely surrounded by family. Loneliness has nothing to do with how many people are around you. It has everything to do with your lack of connection to yourself. Aloneness, on the other hand, is a state of wholeness. It's being comfortable with yourself. It's not needing constant distraction or company or validation. It's being able to sit with yourself, to enjoy your own company, to be your own best friend. And when you achieve aloneness, when you become comfortable being alone, you're never lonely. You're complete. And from that completeness, you can connect with others in a much deeper, healthier way. Not from neediness, but from choice. Not from fear of being alone, but from a desire to share your aloneness with someone else's aloneness. So the practice is this: spend time alone, deliberately, not as punishment, not because you have no choice, but as a practice. Turn off your phone, turn off the TV, don't distract yourself, just be with yourself. Sit, walk, Be in nature and notice what comes up. Notice the discomfort. Notice the urge to distract yourself. Notice the thoughts, the fears, the memories, and just be with them. Don't run. Don't judge. Just be present. And gradually you'll discover that being alone is not something to fear. It's something to cherish. It's where you meet yourself. It's where you discover who you really are beneath all the roles, all the masks, all the conditioning. And here's something beautiful. When you become comfortable being alone, when you develop a deep relationship with yourself, you become incredibly attractive to others because you're not needy, you're not desperate. You're not looking for someone to save you or complete you. You're whole, and whole people attract whole people. Broken people attract broken people. It's that simple. Now, let's talk about success, because many of you are at a point in your life where you're re-evaluating what success means. Maybe you've spent decades climbing the ladder, achieving goals, accumulating things, and you've reached a point where you're asking, is this it? Is this all there is? And there's a deep dissatisfaction, a feeling that you've been chasing the wrong things, that you've been living someone else's definition of success instead of your own. And you're right. Most people are living borrowed lives. They're pursuing goals their parents wanted for them, or society told them they should want, or they think will make them happy. But they never stop to ask themselves, what do I actually want? What brings me joy? What makes me feel alive? And so they spend their entire life climbing the ladder, only to discover at the top that it was leaning against the wrong wall. So let me ask you, what do you actually want? Not what you think you should want, not what would look good on social media, not what would impress people, but what do you in your heart of hearts actually want? And be honest, maybe you don't want more money, maybe you want more time, maybe you don't want a bigger house, maybe you want more freedom, maybe you don't want a prestigious career. Maybe you want to do something meaningful, something that serves others, something that makes you feel alive. And here's the thing, you can have that, you can create that, but first, you have to stop living according to other people's expectations. You have to stop trying to prove something to someone. You have to stop seeking approval and start seeking authenticity. And this is terrifying for most people because it means disappointing others. It means going against the grain. It means being different, being yourself. And we're conditioned to fit in, to conform, to be normal. But normal is just another word for average, for mediocre, for living a life that's not really yours. So here's what I want you to do. Take some time, real time, not just 5 minutes, but hours, days if necessary, and ask yourself, if I had no fear, if I knew I couldn't fail, if I didn't care what anyone thought, what would I do with the rest of my life? And whatever answer comes up, that's your truth. That's your path. That's what you're meant to do. Not what you're supposed to do, what you're meant to do. And the difference between those two is the difference between a life of quiet desperation and a life of joy and fulfillment. But here's where most people get stuck. They get the answer. They know what they want. But then fear comes in. But I'm too old. But I don't have the money. But I don't have the skills. But what if I fail? But what will people think? And so they don't do it. They keep the dream as a fantasy, something they'll do someday when conditions are perfect, when they're ready, when they're more confident. but someday never comes. Conditions are never perfect. You're never completely ready. And confidence doesn't come before action, it comes after. You become confident by doing the thing you're afraid to do. So stop waiting, stop preparing, stop planning, start doing. Take one small step today toward the life you actually want, not the life you think you should want, the life you actually want. And then take another step tomorrow, and another the day after. And gradually, step by step, you'll create a life that's truly yours, a life that's aligned with your values, your passions, your purpose. And that's success. Not money, not status, not approval, alignment, authenticity, aliveness. Let me share something with you that might shift your entire perspective. Most people think that fear is something to overcome, something to conquer, something to get rid of. And so they go to war with their fear. They try to be brave. They try to be fearless. They try to push through the fear. And sometimes that works temporarily. But the fear always comes back, because you can't get rid of fear by fighting it. You can only transcend it by understanding it, by seeing through it, by recognizing it for what it is, which is nothing but a thought, a sensation, a habit, a ghost. Fear has no power except the power you give it. And you give it power by believing it, by taking it seriously, by making decisions based on it. But what if you stopped doing that? What if you treated fear like a child having a tantrum? You wouldn't get angry at the child. You wouldn't try to reason with the child. You would just observe the tantrum with compassion, knowing it will pass, knowing it's not real, knowing the child is just tired or overwhelmed or seeking attention. That's what fear is. It's your inner child having a tantrum, and all it needs is your presence, your awareness, your compassion, not your belief, not your obedience, just your awareness. So the next time fear arises, don't fight it. Don't try to be brave. Just notice it. Oh, there's fear. Interesting. What's it saying? What's it trying to protect me from? And you'll discover that most of your fears are trying to protect you from things that aren't even real, from imagined futures, from past hurts, from things that might never happen. And once you see that, once you really see that, fear loses its grip. It's still there, but it's not controlling you anymore. You're the master, and fear is just a servant, a messenger, bringing you information about your beliefs, your conditioning, your wounds. And you can thank the messenger and then make your own decision about what to do. Now, I want to give you a powerful practice that will change your relationship with fear permanently if you do it consistently. Every morning, before you start your day, before you check your phone, before you do anything, sit quietly for 10 minutes, just 10 minutes, and bring to mind one fear you have. Maybe it's the fear we've been talking about, the fear of being alone, or not having enough money, or being forgotten, or whatever fear is most alive for you right now. Bring it to mind clearly, and then instead of pushing it away, invite it in. Say to yourself, I'm willing to feel this fear completely. I'm willing to experience it fully. I'm not going to run from it or distract myself from it. I'm going to be with it. And then feel it in your body. Where is it? What does it feel like? And just stay with that sensation, without any story, without any drama, just pure sensation. And breathe into it. Breathe into the tightness, the contraction, the discomfort, and watch what happens. The sensation will start to shift, to change, to dissolve, not because you're trying to make it go away, but because you're giving it space, you're accepting it, you're not resisting it. And then, after 10 minutes, or when the sensation has dissolved, ask yourself, what action can I take today that moves me toward what I want despite this fear? And commit to taking that action. Just one action. It doesn't have to be big, it just has to be something. And then do it. And do this every day, every single day. And I promise you, within weeks, your relationship with fear will completely transform. Fear will still arise, but it won't control you. You'll feel it, you'll acknowledge it, and then you'll act anyway. And that's freedom, that's power. That's what it means to be truly alive. Let me tell you something about regret, because this is what's really at stake here. Fear creates regret. Every time you let fear stop you from doing something you wanted to do, from saying something you wanted to say, from being someone you wanted to be, you create regret. And regret is one of the most painful emotions humans experience. It's worse than failure, it's worse than rejection, it's worse than loss. Because regret is the knowledge that you had a chance and you didn't take it. You had an opportunity and you let fear stop you. And you can't go back. You can't redo it. It's gone. And here's what happens at the end of life. I've been with many people as they were dying, and I can tell you, not one of them regretted the things they did. They regretted the things they didn't do. They regretted not telling someone they loved them. They regretted not taking that trip. They regretted not starting that business. They regretted not being more themselves, not speaking their truth, not living their dreams. And it's heartbreaking to watch someone die with that regret, knowing it's too late, knowing they can't go back. But you're not dying, not yet. You still have time, maybe not as much time as you'd like, maybe not decades, but you have now. You have today, you have this moment, and this moment is all you need to make a different choice. To choose courage over fear, to choose action over hesitation, to choose life over safety. And if you make that choice now, and then again tomorrow, and then again the day after, you will not die with regret. You will die with satisfaction, with fulfillment, with the knowledge that you lived, truly lived, that you didn't let fear win, that you didn't waste your precious gift of life playing it safe. So I'm asking you right now to make a decision, not a wish, not a hope, a decision. Decide that you're done letting fear run your life. Decide that you're going to become aware of your fear, question it, feel it, and act despite it. Decide that you're going to live the rest of your life, however long that is, as fully, as authentically, as courageously as possible. And then stick to that decision, not just today, but every day, because this is not a one-time thing. This is a practice. This is a way of life. This is what it means to be awake, to be conscious, to be truly human. And let me tell you what will happen when you make this decision and stick to it. Your life will start to change in ways you can't even imagine right now. Opportunities will appear. People will show up. Money will flow. Love will find you. Not because of some magical law of attraction, but because you'll be different. You'll be open. You'll be present. You'll be taking action. You'll be putting yourself out there. You'll be living instead of hiding. And life responds to that. Life rewards courage. Life rewards authenticity. life rewards presence. But you have to go first. You can't wait for life to give you a sign, to make it easy, to guarantee the outcome. You have to take the first step in faith, in trust, in courage, and then the next step will appear, and then the next. And before you know it, you look back and realize you've created a completely different life, a life you actually want, a life that's truly yours. Now, let me address something specific for those of you who are dealing with the pain of a relationship ending, because I know this is a huge source of fear and suffering for many of you. You're afraid your ex has found someone better. You're afraid they're happier without you. You're afraid you'll never find love again. You're afraid you wasted years of your life. You're afraid you're not enough, and these fears are eating you alive. They're keeping you stuck in the past, obsessing over what went wrong, what you could have done differently, whether there's still a chance. And I'm going to tell you something you might not want to hear. Let them go. Let the relationship go. Let your ex go. Let the fantasy of getting back together go. Let the need for closure go. Let the need for them to regret losing you go. Let all of it go. Not because you don't care, but because holding on is killing you. It's preventing you from living. It's keeping you in a prison of your own making. And the key to that prison is acceptance. Accept that it's over. Accept that they've moved on. Accept that you can't control what they do or who they're with or whether they're happy. Accept that the only thing you can control is yourself, your own life, your own choices, your own happiness. And here's what's beautiful about acceptance. When you truly accept what is, when you stop fighting reality, when you stop wishing things were different, you find peace, you find freedom, you find yourself again. Because all that energy you were using to hold on, to hope, to obsess, to suffer, that energy becomes available for your own life, for your own growth, for your own joy. And that's when real healing happens, not when your ex comes back, not when you find someone new, but when you come back to yourself, when you remember who you are, when you reconnect with your own center, your own worth, your own wholeness. So if you're still holding on to a past relationship, I invite you to do a ritual. Write a letter to your ex. Say everything you need to say. All the hurt, all the anger, all the love, all the regret, all the things you wish you had said. Write it all down. Don't hold back. And then, when you're done, burn the letter. Don't send it. Burn it. Let it go. Let the smoke carry away all that pain, all that attachment, all that hope. And then write another letter, this one to yourself. Apologize to yourself for abandoning yourself in that relationship, for making someone else more important than your own well-being, for betraying your own needs and values. Forgive yourself for any mistakes you made and commit to yourself that from now on, you will be your own priority, your own beloved, your own source of love and validation. This is not selfish. This is necessary. You cannot give what you don't have. You cannot love others deeply if you don't love yourself first. You cannot create a healthy relationship if you're not healthy within yourself. So the work is always inner work. The work is always coming back to yourself, healing yourself, accepting yourself, loving yourself. And from that foundation, everything else flows naturally, effortlessly, joyfully. Now, let's talk about something practical that many of you are probably struggling with. How do you actually reinvent yourself at this age? How do you start over when you feel like you've already invested so much in a particular path, a particular identity, a particular way of being? And the answer is simpler than you think, but it requires letting go of who you think you are. You see, most people are not living as themselves. They're living as a collection of roles, identities, labels. I'm a mother, I'm a professional, I'm a wife, I'm a divorcee, I'm successful, I'm a failure. These are all just labels, just stories, just concepts. They're not who you are. Who you are is the awareness behind all these labels, the consciousness that observes all these roles, the presence that exists before any identity. And when you realize this, when you really get this, you become free to reinvent yourself however you want. Because you're not bound by the past. You're not limited by your history. You're not defined by your mistakes or your achievements. You're pure potential. You're a blank canvas, and you can paint whatever picture you want. But first, you have to erase the old picture. You have to let go of who you think you are, who you think you should be, who others expect you to be. And this is scary. This feels like death, because in a way it is death. It's the death of your old identity. But it's also birth. It's the birth of your true self, the self that's been waiting beneath all the conditioning, all the fear, all the pretense. So, how do you do this practically? Start by questioning everything you believe about yourself. Every time you say or think, I am, notice what comes after. I am too old. I am not good enough. I am afraid. I am alone. I am stuck. And ask yourself, is this true? Is this who I really am? Or is this just a thought, a belief, a story I've been telling myself? And you'll discover that most of what you think you are is not real. It's just conditioning. It's just programming. It's just fear. And then start experimenting with new ways of being. Try things you've never tried before. Go places you've never been. Talk to people you wouldn't normally talk to. Express yourself in ways you've been afraid to. Take a class. Start a hobby. Change your appearance. Change your routine. Do something, anything, that breaks the pattern, that disrupts the habitual way you've been living. Because every time you do something new, you prove to yourself that you're not who you thought you were. You're more. You're capable of more. You're free to be more. And this is especially important for those of you who are dealing with the identity crisis that often comes with divorce or retirement or children leaving home. You've spent years, decades, being defined by a role, by a relationship, by a job. And now that's gone, and you feel lost. You feel like you don't know who you are anymore. And that's actually perfect. That's the opportunity, because now you get to discover who you are without those roles, without those definitions. Now you get to meet yourself, perhaps for the first time. But most people don't see it as an opportunity. They see it as a crisis. They panic, they rush to fill the void with something else, another relationship, another job, another distraction, and they miss the gift of emptiness, the gift of not knowing, the gift of being undefined, Because in that space, in that emptiness, that's where real creativity happens. That's where real transformation happens. That's where you discover your authentic self. So if you're in that space right now, if you're feeling lost, undefined, uncertain, don't rush to fill it. Sit with it. Be with it. Let yourself be empty for a while. Let yourself not know. And in that not knowing, in that emptiness, you'll find something much more valuable than any role or identity. You'll find presence, you'll find awareness. You'll find the eternal, unchanging, infinite consciousness that you are beneath all the temporary forms, all the changing roles, all the passing identities. And from that place, you can create anything. You can become anything. Not in the sense of adding something to yourself, but in the sense of expressing what's already there, what's always been there, waiting to be discovered, waiting to be lived. Let me share with you one final practice that ties everything together. Every evening, before you go to sleep, take 15 minutes to review your day. But don't review it the way most people do, focusing on what went wrong, what you should have done differently, what you're worried about. Instead, review it with these questions. When today did I act from fear? When did I act from courage? When was I present? When was I lost in thought? When did I honor myself? When did I betray myself? And don't judge the answers. Just notice them. Just become aware. Because awareness without judgment is transformation. You don't have to try to change. You don't have to make resolutions. You don't have to beat yourself up. Just become aware. And that awareness will naturally, organically begin to shift your behavior, your choices, your life. And then, before you fall asleep, set an intention for tomorrow. Not a goal, not a to-do list, an intention. Tomorrow, I intend to be more present. Tomorrow, I intend to act from courage rather than fear. Tomorrow, I intend to honor myself. Tomorrow, I intend to live fully, whatever that means. And then let it go. Don't obsess over it. Don't worry about whether you'll succeed. Just set the intention and trust that it will guide you consciously or unconsciously throughout your day. Do this every evening. Make it a ritual. Make it sacred. And watch how your life begins to change. Not dramatically, not overnight, but gradually, steadily, surely. You'll notice you're more aware, you're more present, you're making different choices, you're taking more risks, you're living more fully. And that fear that used to control you, it's still there sometimes, but it's not in the driver's seat anymore. You are. And this is what I want for you. Not that you become fearless. That's impossible and unnecessary. But that you become fear-free. That you recognize fear for what it is, a thought, a sensation, a habit, a ghost. That you stop letting fear make your decisions. That you stop living a small, safe, contracted life because you're afraid of what might happen. That you start living fully, courageously, authentically, presently. That you squeeze every drop of juice out of this precious life you've been given. That you die empty, having given everything, having held nothing back, having lived completely. Because in the end, that's all that matters. Not how much money you made, not how many people loved you, not how successful you were by society's standards, but whether you lived, whether you were truly alive, whether you were yourself, whether you loved fully, laughed freely, cried openly, expressed honestly. Whether you took the risks, had the adventures, spoke the truths, followed the dreams. Whether you let fear stop you, or whether you felt the fear and did it anyway. And I'm telling you, you can do it anyway. You can feel the fear and do it anyway. You have that power. You've always had that power. You just forgot. You just got hypnotized by the fear, by the conditioning, by the voices of others telling you to play it safe, to be realistic, to not rock the boat. But those voices are not your friends. Those voices are fear's accomplices. And you don't have to listen to them anymore. Listen to your own voice. Listen to that quiet whisper inside that knows what you really want, what you really need, who you really are. Listen to your heart, not your head. Your head is full of fear and doubt and limiting beliefs. Your heart knows the truth. Your heart knows you're capable of so much more than you've been allowing yourself to be. Your heart knows you deserve love, abundance, joy, freedom, aliveness. Your heart knows you're not too old, not too damaged, not too anything. Your heart knows you're perfect exactly as you are, and you're also capable of infinite growth, infinite change, infinite possibility. So trust your heart, follow your heart, let your heart lead and your head follow. And when fear arises, and it will, thank it for trying to protect you, and then gently set it aside and move forward anyway. Feel the fear, acknowledge the fear, and then act despite the fear. This is the practice. This is the path. This is the way to a life fully lived. And remember, you're not alone in this. Everyone feels fear. Everyone struggles with doubt. Everyone questions themselves. The difference between people who live fully and people who don't is not that one group is fearless and the other isn't. The difference is that one group acts despite the fear and the other doesn't. One group has decided that living fully is worth the risk, and the other has decided that safety is more important than aliveness. And you get to choose which group you're in, not once, but every day, every moment, every time you face a choice between fear and courage, between safety and growth, between hiding and showing up. Choose courage, choose growth, choose showing up, not because it's easy, but because it's worth it. Not because you'll never be afraid, but because you'll be alive. And being alive, truly alive, fully alive, that's what you came here for. That's what this life is about. Not accumulating things or achieving status or impressing people, but being alive, being present, being yourself, being love, being joy, being free. So take a deep breath right now. Feel your body, feel the life flowing through you, feel your heart beating, feel the miracle of your existence. You are alive right now, in this moment. And this moment is all you have. This moment is all you've ever had. And in this moment, you are complete. You are whole. You are enough. And from this moment, you can create anything. You can become anyone. You can live however you choose. So choose wisely. Choose courageously. Choose yourself. Choose life. Choose now. Because fear was never yours. You just accepted it, and now you can return it. You can let it go. You can walk away from it. You can step into the life that's been waiting for you all along, the life you were meant to live, the life you deserve, the life that's here, now, available, possible, real. All you have to do is say yes. Yes to yourself, yes to life, yes to now, yes to courage, yes to growth, yes to love, yes to joy, yes to freedom, yes to aliveness. Just yes, and then take one step, and then another, and then another, and before you know it, you'll be living